Let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
Hi, LR. Cajun Rob here hanging out with you.
Yeah, we have a special guest tonight. If you know anything about smallmouth fishing, you've probably heard of this man, especially if you're in the Northeast, Mr. Lake Erie, big smallmouth. Him and his buddy Andy. Seems like every time I open my Facebook, there's 5 and 5.5s being caught. Nice pictures, making me drool. But now, Destin Demarion, he definitely one of the better smallmouth guys that I know. He just finished up the Toyota Series on Champlain. Subpar for his what he would call his performance, but I thought he did relatively well. But so, do you want to bring him on, Rob?
Yeah, let's bring him on. Like I said, I know he's kind of fished a little bit of everything. He's even done quite a few events as a co. So definitely gonna look forward to learning more about smallmouth. I need all the help I can get on that. So looking forward to it.
All right, we'll bring him on. Oh,
hey guys,
there he is.
Yeah,
hey.
I heard that whole spiel. I think you guys need to teach me about some smallmouth after Champlain, because the second day I just went after largemouth for some ill-advised reason.
Wow,
You never know.
That shocks me that you went for largemouth up there.
I've had a lot of success with largemouth there. I mean, if you saw the Elite a few years ago, like I was mixing my bag, but primarily, focusing on big largemouths. And, in practice, I shook off probably 25, upper 3 to 5 pounds largemouth, that I saw. And in the tournament, I think it just fizzled out because we had a lot of rain. I think it just messed up my shallow bite a little bit.
Right.
I was just banking on it after the first day, which I primarily caught smallmouth and some big smallmouth. And unfortunately, that's fishing. And I've been at the mercy of a couple of my bad decisions this year, unfortunately.
That's what they say, that decisions is a lot of times what makes the difference.
Yeah,
it is. It totally is. Yeah, I've seen it all too many times, but when you make the right decisions, it's pretty euphoric, I would say. It just feels like everything's just flowing well, and you can't do wrong sometimes, which is few and far between, but it's nice when that happens.
Exactly. Before we get into smallmouth, I know you fish New York waters a lot. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that 12-pounder caught on Cayuga?
So a friend of mine, Len Speed, that is his travel partner. They're in the same club. I think it's the Elite Force Bassmasters. They're
correct
at an Eastern PA area, I believe. And so I saw it on Facebook, pretty early on, and I was like, this can't be real. Like, this is insane. And he was practicing for a tournament, I guess, and his friend, and they caught this absolute gargantuan, which you shouldn't be that surprised. I mean, obviously, John, Cayuga, it's the best big fish lake in the state, better than St. Lawrence. I mean, you've got a longer growing season there. I mean, the lake doesn't usually even ice up because it's so deep. So they have a longer growing season. They've got the gobies in there now. So you've got all the factors, tons of grass. I mean, it's just a very healthy fishery. And it was just a matter of time before, you broke the smallmouth record a couple times there, and now the largemouth record, which is going to be extremely hard to top.
Yeah, because I think that was, back in the 70s?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't heard of the largemouth record even getting close to being broken up there for years. And Pennsylvania's the same. Like, ours has not even been close to being broken in a long time, but Cayuga's just got that right mix of things coming together right now where it's just growing some amazingly big fish.
It's definitely on the upswing, because I know, I don't know, I want to say 5, 6, 7 years ago, it seemed like it was going down.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they're having issues with the spraying of the grass right now, and they'd always said they weren't going to spray the grass, yet they are spraying the grass. But honestly, it hasn't had as detrimental effect. I mean, maybe they're just being a little bit more careful and not nuking it like they do in Florida.
Yes.
So hopefully that'll continue to produce those big fish, and people will be smart about, how they manage the lake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can hope that but for some reason I don't trust New York politicians. So
Oh man, yes, yeah, they don't really see the full picture of things.
no, but we're gonna roll back into why we wanted. One of the reasons we wanted you on is because it seems like every time I'm scrolling through Facebook and I see your picture, you have at least a 4 or 5 pound smallmouth.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, and then Rob before show said, yeah, he was on a Bassmaster U show once, and he was telling you a little bit about that, but talking about smallmouth.
Yeah, I'm lucky. We relocated. We were living in Pittsburgh. I'm from a little bit north of Pittsburgh, Grove City. It's actually right by Butler, where the attempted presidential assassination was. Which, if you knew our area, that's about the last place you'd ever expect, Trump to get an assassination attempt.
Yep.
Considering it's about 80% red in that area, just rednecks and stuff. Yep. But when we relocated up here, I mean, it was largely for, the smallmouth fishing, be able to, because I'm traveling so much, for fishing and work and stuff, that when I get home, I could never be to a decent fishery without going 2 hours. Without 2 hours to drive, because Pittsburgh's really not close to anything good.
Right.
My wife works in Pittsburgh. We did that to sacrifice for her, so she didn't have a commute, which now she's been remote, so we could go wherever we want, as awesome. I am. So we both went to college up here. We relocated up into a community called Harbor Creek. It's just outside of Erie. It's like a farm community. And I live pretty much parallel to the lake. I can be in the boat ramp in 4 minutes, and I pretty much get out anytime I am able to. So, I mean, 4 to 6 pound smallmouths abound all around, and you don't have to go far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
No. And my wife's family, it's basically right in between my family and hers. So it was convenient for both of us.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Especially with your parents being grandparents now and you being a father. And
yeah. Yeah, my mom gets to come up at least once a week and spend time with our daughter and pick her up from school and stuff. And my wife's family, they come up periodically. They live up kind of near you, John. They're in Rochester.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool.
Not too far.
Yep.
So what do you think? I mean, a lot of people are saying forward facing sonar is why people are catching these big fish.
It is.
That's part of it. Do you think the gobies? I mean, the gobies have to be a big effect of it.
Yeah. The gobies are a huge impact on this growth. Especially in a newer place. Like Cayuga, that's just getting really they're taking hold in Cayuga.
Right.
You're seeing that huge size coming from those gobies, but. Where I'm at, they've been here at Thousand Islands. They've been at Erie for a long time. Our fish have consistently been, 4 to 6 pounds here. I mean, it's rare you catch one under 3 pounds. I mean, you catch more over 3 pounds than you catch under. I feel like because their growth is so expedited with the gobies, it's just a little protein snack. They don't have spines. There's no defense mechanism for these gobies, and they can just slurp them up like a noodle. So they definitely take full advantage, and they eat them up like pasta noodles. They're actually more like a meatball, I should say. They suck them down like little meatballs, but they provide like a very protein rich meal that they can really grow quickly on. I mean, they've done some studies. I was talking to Andy about this ironically the other day, and he said they were doing studies on like Erie smallmouth, and most time a 6 pound smallmouth takes 12, 15 years
right
to get there. Erie's about half the time. It's like 6, maybe 8 years, and you've got a 6 pound smallmouth because they've got so much more growth potential with that food source that they have. And gobies are slow. It's not like they're expending a ton of energy chasing them. So it's not like an open water game fish where they're burning a lot of calories, That's why they grow so fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Could you imagine gobies down south in Florida or something like that?
Yeah.
all those fish having a year round to to chomp on them.
Yeah, so like I've been a proponent, and I'm starting to push it harder. Okay, we stock a lot of walleye, even though we have a huge population in the Great Lakes, a great naturally reproducing population. Why aren't we taking advantage of our giant trophy bass stock here, stocking more to supplement for fishing, bringing more people in for like for tourism, as well as selling to other states? Why not introduce some Great Lakes strain into the South, into the Mid-South, like they do with Florida strain everywhere, or a hybrid of such, because those genes, I mean, they get girth, they get the thickness, they get way bigger, faster, and they get, to those trophy world record class potential. I don't see why we couldn't do that. Obviously with the gobies, it's invasive, and that's another subject, but I mean, it's only a matter of time. All those places are connected, the Great Lakes and all the rivers. Yeah. They're going to just keep going into these places. So, I mean, imagine if they got into the Tennessee River, which they could. Imagine if they get into those, southern impoundments and river systems where, oh my gosh, I mean, such an easy food source that's just going to exponentially grow these fish.
Yeah. Now, Eddie Carper, I don't know if you know him. He's from Oklahoma originally, moved up to Ohio, and we went out on Cuga, and then we went out on Ontario. And the thing that amazed him about the waters up here was the fish were so healthy and fat.
Yep.
And Jeff Hipper said you are the man with tons of knowledge.
Good old Duke of Hamburg, Jeff Buffalo there.
Yeah.
Good friend. Yes, good friend. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah.
So, not because I have a tournament on St. Lawrence this weekend, but outside of a drop shot, what's one of your top baits for smallmouth?
So typically I'm always gonna drop shot. You're always gonna have that tied up.
Yep.
I'd say more and more little finesse jig, with a Ned bait. Like a max scent general, and obviously the fish, the scent is really key with a smallmouth, especially in the northern fisheries. I don't know if it is as much of an issue in the southern fisheries. Oh, there we go. Kyle Richards said finesse for bulge. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
A Carolina rig, especially the St. Lawrence, really good. I've caught some of the bigger ones I've caught in the river on a Carolina rig. Obviously, a Ned rig, but more and more, we were talking about the Bass U thing that I did at the Classic a couple of years ago. I was talking about how I kind of stopped using tubes and started going more Ned rig. Now I'd say I'm more tube and less Ned rig, because in the same reason I said I was not using tubes as much as the conditioning. So like,
correct.
Now everybody's using Ned rigs, which I was one of the first people up here because the Midwest guys taught me that well before it was popular over here. Like the Seth Fighters and those guys taught me that well before, when it was already a thing there. And so I was using it on the lake. But then now, tube. I'm definitely more on the tube train, and I feel like the tube has made a really strong comeback. So I would definitely say a tube. Something with some scent. I like the max scent ones for sure. The max scent tubes.
Yeah. Now
they don't have as much of those two-tone good, laminate colors, because you can't with that plastic. So there still is some good ones out there, but just make sure you soak them. Use a tube that'll soak up a scent, and soak those tubes and those baits, well beforehand. I used to bake. I don't know if you guys are familiar with goby oil. I don't think they make it anymore, but my friend, it was a guy at Thousand Islands. I got it before it ever came on the market, and I was doing really good in tournaments with it. Goby oil. So my friend Dean Meckis and my really, really good friend and mentor, Rich Damianos, they would catch gobies and make it. So they would use the goby scent, because my friend Rich made a living when he was in high school as a trapper. He would make more than his principal trapping when pelts were, so he knows how to make traps and use scents and stuff. So they use that knowledge to to make goby oil, and I used to bake that into my baits, and it was like I would 5-to-1 a boater on a Great Lake when I had that. I mean, that's how much of an impact. But then a lot of guys started using it, and it's not as effective anymore.
Yeah.
Still good though.
Yeah.
That flatworm too has been awesome. I've used that flatworm a lot on Del Hollow and had some really good success with it. Yeah.
Do you think it makes as much difference on the southern smallmouth with scent as it does up here? Because have you fished up here as much for the smallmouth?
No, I haven't fished up there, but I fished Del Hollow and my closest big lake, Cumberland. But it does give me a few more bites. I can tell.
Okay. Yeah, because here I feel like if you don't have a scent on it, a lot of times they won't even touch it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when they're pressured, like it's night and day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that pressure gets to them, and they're very finicky and paying attention to what they're doing. So, that doesn't smell right, or they might just nip it. Doesn't taste right because it doesn't have that scent in it. It's not releasing that scent. It doesn't taste like a real, bait.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's funny you mentioned Dean Meckus. Years ago I was talking to him, on I can't even remember where, and he was telling me about this goby oil. And I'm like, well, how do I get some? He's like, well, just send me a check and I'll get you some.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, shoot, I can't find his phone number or anything anymore.
Oh.
They sold it at Thousand Islands Bait and Tackle for a while, but they kind of got out of it because it's so labor intensive how they did it. And they just didn't have the time. I mean, Dean's guiding all the time, and he's semi-retired. He spends half his year in Florida, and Rich does the same thing. He spends half his year in Florida guiding saltwater. So I just think the motivation was gone from that. But I mean, it was an amazing, excellent scent, and they were on the cutting edge of smallmouth scents at the time because it was really good. And there was a lot of high-end professional fishermen. I was still a co-angler when it came out that were buying it behind closed doors.
And Kyle says, going to try a creature bait like a brush hog on a Carolina rig. That doesn't work on St. Lawrence.
No.
Works down south though. That is the go-to down south.
I'm kidding.
He's kidding, Rob.
Yeah. I a lot of times I'll throw a baby power hog on it.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Yep.
Power hog. Yep.
They got that Max Sense, the one that they did away with, the critter hog.
Yep.
That one is really good, as well as on a free rig. My buddy Sakai, who's a really good co-angler, he won a couple at St. Lawrence on a free rig with that. Max Scent creature, just like that beaver.
Yep.
Also good. Speed craw, obviously, even a chigger craw, something if you want it moving, but there's so many baits you can put on there. Anything that's, craw, little movement, goby-esque, it can work.
Absolutely.
Like a rage bug too. I've done well with a rage bug there.
Yeah.
I actually had Meg's father-in-law used to own a bait shop down in Knoxville in Lake Loud and Tellico. He used to Carolina rig a floating Rebel or floating Rapala and just wear out smallmouth. He would wear me out on that thing.
I am not surprised. That seems like it'd be a good thing here. I've not tried it, but I've been wanting to.
Yeah.
Sounds like it'd be a heck of a walleye bait.
Oh, guaranteed for sure.
Yep.
Just like putting it on a Lindy rig or something, bottom bouncer and just twitching it behind you.
Yep.
I'll catch some smallmouth up here. I'm sure. I just haven't tried it.
Yeah. So I saw you in your practice. You had about a 5-6 pound walleye.
Yeah. So I caught like 4 or 5 that were like 5-6 pounds a piece walleyes.
Dang.
A couple of them were on jerkbait. I got on this one typical smallmouth area that I've caught them in the past, and I was like, oh, there's one, and I was like, dang, this is big, but I was like, this isn't fighting like a bass. I'm like, this better not be a drum. And I see a walleye, and then I had two ate my jerkbait and were like fighting to get away from each other. I had like a 5 and like a 4 pound walleye. I got them almost to the boat, and then the 4 got off. Ironically, usually it's the smaller one that stays on.
Yep.
And then I caught that bigger one. Then I threw right back out and caught like another 5 pound walleye.
Dang.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Kyle has a question. He thinks you think this time of year smallmouth are more on crawfish or gobies? He feels like crawfish are coming back.
Yeah, I think it has to do with like them molting and shedding the shell too.
Yeah.
So when they're like that softer, they just gobble those dang crawfish up.
Yeah.
So that typically is around the moon phase. So I would pay attention to the moon phase as far as when your crawfish molt is going to be. But they're smoking both. They'll eat both. But I mean, pay attention, feel their belly. If it's crunchy, they're eating craws. If it's softer, they're probably eating gobies or they're softer type bait fish.
Yeah. So what's your go-to technique up on the Great Lakes?
I'd say more and more I'm getting into the hover stroll, like mid strolling.
Yeah.
After last year, when I really in opens, I felt like I was super stubborn. Like I wanted to fish my way and not just stare at a screen and live scope all the time. And it was not. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you hear enough of these older guys that are complaining and whining about it. But the truth is, do something, change. I mean, that's the way it is. You got to do it. So I've been fortunate that the lake's been thawed since the end of January. And I was in Florida for the team championship in December, and I was in Florida in early January. So I was fishing the whole year and went seamlessly right back into fishing on the lake and, Demiki rigging, hover strolling, from January, late January, February, the whole way up until, people started actually fishing in April, late March. So I've been working on that. I've really focused on working on forward facing a lot. And sure enough, at the Toyota second day, I didn't listen to that and wanted to go largemouth fishing. But that's really the key. I mean, it's a combination of the forward facing, I would say, and the mid stroll has become so popular, the jig minnow, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I'd say that has become a big player for me.
Okay. Now, when you do that, do you use a special weight, a special special jig head?
Yeah. I use an Angler Tungsten Eclipse most of the time. That's what I was using at Champlain. I caught quite a few, in practice and in the tournament. There were over 4 pounds on it. It's got a really beefy owner hook, like a jig hook. It's probably got the best hook of all of them out there. It's also tungsten. You have more feel of it, and it shows up really good on forward facing. It's got a screw lock, which that was one of my main ideas on it. Andy and Jeff and I, if Jeff's still listening, we had been making custom Ned heads / finesse swim bait heads for years. Andy's got the equipment. I would get the hooks and the screw locks and stuff, and then we just make them and powder coat them. But we made a Ned head that had a screw lock because you can't use it on a Z-Man because the Elastec won't screw in. Yeah. You need a pin for those. But we use a lot of MaxScent and different stuff for that. So it screws it in, and you get 3 to 4 times more fish out of one bait with the screw lock.
Right. Huh.
Okay, so you're not only saving baits, but it keeps it perfectly straight. That pin likes to tear, and when it tears, it can't stay as straight anymore. So we're using a screw lock in that. Takes a little bit of finagling when you get it on. Usually I'll just pre-rig a few and just have them like ready in my boat. So I'm not fiddling with it if it's a tournament or something. But that's the head, and that's why it is the way that it is, and it's specifically for that. Whether it's Demiki rigging, mid strolling horizontally, that's I think the best head on the market.
Cool. Makes sense.
Go ahead.
Now, fishing opens, I know you have a lot of co-anglers. Now, what have you seen the co-anglers have the most success kind of following the live scoper? I've had a little bit of success on like a scrounger head and like an A-rig when I fish BFLs, but what have you seen the most success on a co-angler going behind forward facing doing?
Be honest, I really haven't.
Okay.
With forward facing now and how the individual fishness of it, like you're chasing, maybe one fish, and there's really nothing else out there to catch. I mean, you might get lucky and catch a random one or something. I mean, if you see a piece of cover, maybe dragging a drop shot behind the boat, or just slow rolling a swim bait, just praying and hoping. I mean, something like that. But other than that, I mean, it's hard when you're fishing for isolated fish. because I'm moving, a forward facing guy who's focused on it is moving a lot.
Oh yeah.
So the boat is going quickly. It's hard to fish and get a good presentation behind the boat, as you guys I'm sure have experienced, fishing with these guys. So dragging a drop shot, probably the best thing you can do. Unless it's a moving bait thing, covering water with a top water, hoping to get lucky, just getting some schooling fish or some fish that are just kind of roaming, or like just slow rolling a swim bait, whether it's like a little finesse swim bait, like a Kitech, or even mid strolling, just counting down different levels, trying to work different levels of the water column and just hoping and praying.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Now, have guys like in your schooling, like if your boater brings in, he's got a bunch of followers, have a bunch of followers. Some guys will drop a drop shot right beside the boat and a follower will get it sometimes.
That's
but
good.
That's,
sure.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
If he's catching fish that's got, a bunch with him, that's probably one of your best thing for sure.
Oh, gotcha.
Aaron said Carolina rig. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Carolina rig. Anything dragging, if you're able to drag it, but when your guy's moving a lot, it's hard to not get tangled in his trolling motor. And when he's moving to get in the prop of the motor, because the boat keeps going like this, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's made it more difficult, for a co-angler.
That's when you just sit on the cowling and
what?
That's when you just sit on the cowling and
eat a sandwich. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like a lot of the club guys used to do when the Senko first came out.
Yeah, there you go. We used to make the joke about tube draggers, because obviously this is Great Lakes. You're like, someone told me this. It was an old timer. Like, you can't be a good tube dragger unless you're a chain smoker. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, I kept watching. I was like, gosh, all these guys that are dragging tubes are just smoking like chimneys. Like, they're the ones that are catching them because they're fishing. Take a drag. It's just sitting there. They're just fishing really slow. That was the key. A Senko fisherman, a tube dragger, whether it's being a chain smoker or whatever it is, that's going to slow you down. That's the key to being good. And I heard that, and I was like, you know what? I think there's some validity to that.
Yeah, we used to have some guys in the club who would bring like 3 or 4 sandwiches.
Yeah, eat a sandwich.
Eat a sandwich.
Yeah, take a minute and just take a snack break and a drink of water and just let it sit out there. Oh, there, I got one. And it's like 50 yards behind the boat.
How can you tell you got one? You can see the Senko hanging by his tail.
Yeah, right. He already crapped it out at this point.
He already digested it. But
that's the bad thing about a tube and a Senko. A lot of times you don't realize you have the bite, and he's already got it down his dang gullet.
Yeah.
Ned's the same way. I had I think I was on a little lake at a BFL, and I casted my reel, like the line got behind the reel, and I was like, oh man. So I took the spool off, and there goes my line. I was like, oh heck, and I got him in. Yeah.
Oh no way! That's awesome.
I had he wasn't very big, luckily, but he took off. As soon as I got that spool off, zoop, there goes my line. I'm like, oh great.
That's the good thing about him probably swallowing it. You could just hand line him because he already had it so far down. It didn't even matter. You just bring him right in.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Being where I'm at, I get to fish with a lot of good smallmouth fishermen. A couple of them, Casey Smith. I know Casey from Rochester area. Just watching them guys, how they just watch them and just how anal they are about it. With their tube, even. It just amazes me that they can. It seems like, I think with Casey, if he has 3 or 4 strands off his tube, he replaces it.
Oh yeah, I'm like that too. I don't like if there's not if they take some strands off. I don't like it.
Yeah, but
there's some old guys. There's some old guys in Tennessee. I remember they'd have a crawfish bait, like a a rage craw, and they'd take one pincher off, and they swore that they got more bites, and they killed them. It worked for them.
So when I was a kid, we used to use live crawfish because I had a creek behind my house, so I could catch them. And sure enough, if you pulled both the pinchers off, those things would get eaten better. And even one, you'd be like, I think it seems like it works better. They're like, oh, I don't have to get pinched by both claws. I'm going to eat this thing. You know?
I'll get him on his blind side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
there you go.
I got him on his weak side. Suck him right in.
Oh man.
So, tube fishing. What's your setup for a tube?
So lately I've been using the Great Lakes Finesse tube head a lot. I really like those. Got a good hook in it. It's probably one of the best like little tube hooks. I when I throw like a heavier one, typically I used to use a bait caster a lot.
Yeah.
I'm kind of back on the spinning rod train with that. I feel like I just have more sensitivity and I can do what I want to do with that a little bit easier. I like the bait caster if I was ripping, in grass or something like St. Clair or some place where you got that sand grass and I'm ripping that tube a lot. But I typically use like pretty much all my spinning rods. I'm 10-pound braid to 8 to 10-pound leader with the tube. I like to have a decent leader if it's clear. That's just a mental thing, probably more than anything. Just I don't want them to ever see the braid.
Yep.
I like to dead stick it a lot. I like to mess with it a lot. Sometimes I dead stick it, sometimes I work it, sometimes I drag it real slow. I change the weights a lot depending on how deep it is. The heavy, I use like a 1/2 ounce if I'm really, deep, just to keep good bottom contact and feel.
Right.
I'd like to get away with like a 3/16 or a quarter for most of the stuff, just because it's going to move more naturally with the lighter head. Because the heavier head is really going to kill the action of the bait. But if it's just dragging on the bottom or something, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When I run it, really keep it on the bottom, but sometimes I'm hopping it and doing different things with it.
Yeah. All right. Troy Mims said he was a co-angler of yours back in 2017 at Harris Chain. He said he enjoyed the day and you're a real pro.
Hey, Troy.
Nice.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Nice.
If I do recall, Troy is from Georgia and he works for Norfolk Southern, because at the time I was working for Norfolk Southern at my buddy runs a corporate lodge in the St. John's. So I was guiding down there in the winters at Norfolk Southern Corporate Lodge.
Shoot, nice. Yeah, talking about I know up here in the spring seems like I've accidentally like catched my jig and had a professional overrun and dead sticked it, and by the time I pulled it up, hey, 3-pounder.
He's got it, yeah.
Yeah, and they love dead stick up here. Dead stick in the pre-spawn. I don't know why, but they love it up here in pre-spawn.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of times it's similar here. Depending, where I fish a lot, Presque Isle gets a lot of pressure. So sometimes I got to do some weird stuff, when I'm finicky and they've been fished a lot to get those big fish to fire. But yeah, dead sticking can often be the ticket. So I'm glad to hear it's worked for you too.
Oh yeah, by accident. And I was like, light bulb went off.
Yep, you're like, I need to do this.
Are you saying Presque Isle gets fished a lot?
Oh,
I can't believe it.
It's only 3,500 acres and there's 300 boats there on a day in May.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And that's if the weather's bad.
Right. Yeah. Because otherwise we're out on the lake.
Yeah. But, do you ever think there'll be a time where electronics will regress instead of keep going forward?
It's a good question.
Because I know
the only way I see that is if the tournament organizations put a crackdown on what's allowed. That's the only way I see that changing.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, the electronics companies are pumping money into these and they're selling products because they're pumping money into the tournament organizations, which then I feel like that's kind of counterintuitive to the business model that the tournament organization is trying to establish, which is making money. The only way I would see that is that situation, but I don't really see that happening. I hear murmurs. I actually started quite a big debate on Facebook a couple months ago about limitations, and there should be limitations in a professional tournament fishing.
Yep.
And got a lot of guys liking it and a lot of guys not liking it. So that's typical. I mean, when you're going to state something, but from what I hear, murmurs, there's going to be a few potential big shakeups in at least one of the tournament organizations as far as inches of graphs allowed, which is one of the main things that I proposed, and limitations potentially. I did not hear this for sure. Is on transducers, the amount of transducers.
We had Kevin McGivney on with K&K Customs, and he's right along with you as far as size limitations and stuff like that. Which is kind of weird because that's where he makes his money.
That's his business, right? Yeah, but I feel like you're alienating a set of your potential customer base by making it unattainable with $25,000-$30,000 of electronics on your boat. Whereas if it's something that the average Joe could potentially strive to have $15,000 electronics maybe on their boat, that's a little bit more attainable than, potentially double that. I think that was where fishing always was, even when I started, because electronics was not as big. I think side imaging was just coming, getting popular. And that's how I had a lot of success, is just learning side imaging early. And like, it wasn't that expensive to have electronics on your boat at that time. You could outfit a boat and be competitive with 2 graphs, probably one up front and one on the console. I mean, the first year I did it, that's all I had, an 8-inch and a 9-inch graph, and I almost made the elites when I was 25. The first year I did it, just with side imaging and a map. But that's because that's what everyone else, roughly was using, right? If you put in the work, you could, basically be on the same plane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As everybody else. I think in this case, when you have 5 forward-facing transducers on your boat and a pole, and you're looking out there, and while you're idling and you're seeing, is that really equal? Is that really something that most people can strive to? And I'm not saying I mean myself too. I don't have one of those poles. I would like to have one because it's an advantage. Like, is that an equal playing field? And is that helping you grow the sport when you're making it unattainable for a large, set of the population?
Absolutely.
Aaron says, what's your opinion about amount of transducers? Like Taki has 7 of them. Well, Taki's not the only one that has 7.
Koya and a lot of the guys have adopted that because they keeping up with the Joneses. You see, the Japanese guys have them, and everybody else is getting them because they're smoking everybody, and the younger kids that have a lot of money and are able to do that, they're able to do that too. So I think it should be 2, personally. You can put them where you want. You can have one up front. You can have one in the back. You can have one here, but 2. You can have 2 forward facing. You can have both up front. I think that's the variability of it, but that's where I think it should end. As a professional sport, it's not like, let's say, in hockey, I have these skates, but I have rocket boosters on my skates and it's okay. Like, that's not the same thing. You know what I mean? And yes, right now you're allowed to, and the reason why it's the Wild West and it hasn't been kept in check.
Yeah.
I'm not, don't get this misconstrued, because in most cases I am not for more regulations in anything. But in this case, as a professional sport where you're trying to have somewhat of at least a fallacy of equality in the game, I think there needs to be a standard. I mean, there's a standard with size of outboards. There's, standards with, just all of the rules that come into it, with information, with cutoffs, with, practice, how long you can practice, throughout the day, on a practice day, 30 minutes before, sunrise or whatever, that kind of stuff. So if you're going to regulate all that and want to have a truly legitimate sport, which already I would say is questionable in the sense of legitimacy in the eyes of the average consumer that doesn't know about it.
Right.
That's how you bring legitimacy, is by having, good standards that are, making the playing field somewhat the same. I mean, in baseball, you can't use pine tar, but there's still some pitchers that are trying to use pine tar and sticky something. They're checking their,
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like you've got to have standards. And if you don't, it's hurting the game and it's hurting the sport because people are just like, I don't want to do that because it's not fair or it's not this or that, which right now, I mean, you can't argue that there is no rules. You can do that right now, but it is the Wild West. There needs to be some kind of, checks and balances there.
Yeah. It's all about like your displays, your monitors. I seen some kid had 3 16-inch. I couldn't even see his head. I was like, somebody driving that boat? What? Couldn't even see him. He is like that far. I was like,
and the NBC ones, those basically they just show another graph. There's just project. So you've got the big live scope on that 22-inch NBT or 18-inch or however big. I think there's two models, which it's nice. You can see it really good. But I mean, it's just, it gets to the point where it's like absurd.
Yeah.
And where does it stop? Where do you limit it? I mean, that's the question. Yeah. That's what, organizations are ultimately going to have to make that choice. But I mean, I've put in my 2 cents. So you can see what I've said, but somewhere around 60 inches or 50 to 60 inches for total and 2 transducers is what I've suggested.
Yeah. That's a good compromise.
Yeah. So 60 would be what? 5 12s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could have a 16 instead. I mean, you could mix and match.
Yeah.
That's
you could have 6 tens.
I like that. I wouldn't mind going back. I wouldn't mind going back to the 9 or 10 inches.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're past that though, but
definitely.
I agree. I mean, I think you can get by doing that, especially if everyone's on the same playing field for sure. But I mean, it's going to ultimately come down to if the tournament organizations are going to want to actually, do something. I know my buddy fishes a lot of tournaments in Florida. There's some local series that won't even allow you to have live scope on your boat.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not about that. I think that's kind of archaic. I think that's never going to fly, especially in the bigger tournament world. It's here. It's not going anywhere. It's just, where are the limitations?
Yeah.
Kyle Richards says limit screen inches, 1 live transducer during official competition days, half the tournaments in the year, selected randomly, no forward-facing sonar won't be allowed.
Yeah, I've heard that proposed by some people. It'd be an interesting format. It'd definitely throw people for a loop, and it'd be some kind of a marketing ploy or point that organizations could jump off and be like, oh, what are they going to do this tournament? Like it would build some hype around it. That might be a good idea because obviously you want to create an entertainment factor and have people talking. So that might be something interesting to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Could you imagine Champlain and St. Lawrence with no forward facing sonar?
Yeah. I just fished for largemouth.
He's already got to play it.
Oh yeah, I don't need it. Like I most of the time at Champlain, I don't need it, but this time, obviously, when everyone's catching them in 70 feet of water, you kind of need it.
Yeah. So I've never caught, believe it or not, I've never caught a fish on a Ned rig.
That is extremely surprising.
Okay, I throw a Ned rig almost as much as I throw a crankbait.
Oh,
so you don't throw a crankbait either.
No,
that's one of my favorite ways to catch them.
I need to start hooking up with you, man. Because
Cayuga is a place I've done really well crank here. I mean, I love to crank, and Cayuga you can crank.
Yeah. What are some of the things I should be looking for Ned rig? I mean,
a lot of the same places that you're going to throw your drop shot or your tube. Okay. I mean, you're targeting a lot of the same type of stuff. It's just depending on their mood, and maybe they haven't seen a Ned rig in this area, and they've seen a lot of drop shots. Maybe that's what they're going to shift to eating that day, or just depending on what kind of forage they're eating. It could be good because a lot of people are, like I said, I'm shifting more towards the tube lately. I think some other people are also starting to do that and pick up that, like, Ned rig, they're getting more condition to it in a lot of places. So maybe, throw this and that instead. But maybe that's the time to bring the Ned rig back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I had one of my tournaments. Ned rig saved me. My boater was drop shot, and I was like, "Oh man, I can't drop shot." Pulled the net. It was smallmouth on beds, and
okay.
I threw it Ned rig, and it was catching them pretty much. He'd catch one, I'd catch one. I mean it.
That's perfect.
I use that, and I always heard that chartreuse head.
Yep.
That thing, chartreuse head works good,
especially when they're on a bed. Those small mouths, like something bright, just it makes them mad.
Yeah, it does.
That's about the best thing you could say. It just makes them very irritated. I use a lot of chartreuse, if I'm smallmouth bed fishing as well.
And believe it or not, up here at Cumberland, the hot smallmouth color's pink year round. I don't know what it is. Pink Cinco, pink spinnerbait, pink crankbait. I don't know what it is, but it works.
For some reason they like pink. I mean, even up here, pink is a good color too.
Yep.
Especially bedding season, pink is very good.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're girls.
Well, they're girls, yeah. Well, that's the ones you want to catch is the big
there
girls,
you go.
Right?
Kyle Richard, any advice for bait choice when fishing 15 feet or less flats on St. Lawrence?
Depends on how much current, but spy bait.
Yeah.
Spy bait is extremely good. I think it's slept on in that deeper water because it's so clear. I mean, you can see 15 feet in the St. Lawrence. So just getting the right cadence and getting it at the right depth. You might need to use, a heavier one like the 90, like the Duo 90. That one sinks faster. One like that can be really good, or just waiting, for an 80 if they just want a smaller size one to get down a little bit and just creeping that thing as slow as you can. If you can get a jerk bait down there, an A-rig could be good for covering some water, especially on a flat. You can cover ground. You can keep it at a depth. Very good presentation for that. Jerk bait, like I said, could be good. Hover strolling, like I was talking about, hover stroll, mid stroll, good way to catch those finicky fish, that might follow that more aggressive stuff. Very subtle presentation, in that jig minnow style bait.
Absolutely.
Carolina rig too, if they just want something just real slow on the bottom too, just drag along.
Yeah. Aaron Wilkie says he used the Z-Man Tickler's Z on the net head. Those tentacles make a difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I used to use that one a lot when I use the net head more. I like the hula stick. The smaller hula stick, same thing, concept. It's got the little tentacles, but it's a bigger profile. A lot of my fish like to eat big bait. They don't want to waste their time with something smaller. So I do use that hula stick a lot. Yeah, spark shad, very good bait too.
Yep.
They see a lot. They see a lot of swim baits. I feel like they get swim bait shy.
Yeah.
They really get shy of that kick, especially later in the year. I think they get more finicky.
Oh yeah.
I know one of the things I started doing up there is like with a chatterbait.
Chatterbait's real good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I've been letting it drop just about to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And reel as slow as I can. Basically like slow rolling a spinnerbait. That's
a sneaky little good thing. Yeah. That's good.
So
yeah.
You're giving me some tricks now.
Well,
I actually heard that one.
Yeah, TVA lakes here in Tennessee, they'll do the ledges with a heavier one, like an ounce and a quarter, and they'll do that on ledges. Yeah.
Yep. And like a 6 to 8 inch bait, like a fluke or something like that on it for sure.
Oh yeah.
One of my buddies, we were fishing a tournament, and he had a secret bait. He was Carolina rigging a 1 ounce jig.
That's interesting. I feel like that would get hung up a lot.
Oh yeah.
Of course, he had a couple too many beverages the night before when he was
He thought it was good at that time, and then he's like, "Yeah, this is a terrible idea."
Yeah.
I was about to fit for 6 time. He lost his baits. It's like, maybe not.
Like I went through a lot of 1 ounce jigs.
Exactly. So, Destin, we appreciate you coming on. We're about 50 minutes into this. I want to give you time to talk about your sponsors and stuff like that. Give them a big shout out.
Yeah, sure. So this year I started working with Doc's Tackle. They're up in the Finger Lakes region there, Honey Eye Lake. Great group of guys. They definitely listen to input. They get any of the products they really think are going to excel, in that area, whether it's smallmouth, largemouth. I mean, they do walleye, perch, all the like. But I've been really, really pleased with them. Douglas Rods up in the same area up near Lake Ontario.
Yep.
I've been very pleased with them so far. Really, really like the X Matrix. The $99 eras, also very nice. You can get them at Doc's. And very sensitive for a lot of the fishing that I'm doing. The X Matrix, I've been extremely pleased. Hover strolling, because that's a very sensitive, technical thing. So I've been very, very pleased with the performance, there too. And obviously DuraEdge, that's my main sponsor. We engineer infield mixes for baseball and softball fields. Pretty much, I'd say the biggest player in that industry. The All-Star game for MLB was last night. That was the Texas Rangers. I was texting with the head groundskeeper because they're a customer of ours. He actually butt dialed me on accident, and then we just started talking a little bit. But we do most of the professional teams, tons of smaller fields and stuff. But we're located here just north of Pittsburgh. Our mine is actually in Sarver, where the gentleman that actually passed away from at the Trump rally, he's from Sarver there in Butler County.
Sorry to hear about him.
Yeah, Corey Comparator is his name.
Okay. Yeah, I thought, before the show we were talking, I thought DuraEdge was artificial.
yeah, we had that conversation. It's like, I got artificial for my pool, and I was like, oh, that's cool. We pretty much just do natural.
And I'm seeing a lot of sports, high schools especially, going back to natural.
We're doing more conversions back, to natural. I think they see the grass isn't always greener, or the plastic grass isn't always greener on that side of things. It's actually a lot more expensive in the long run, initially and in the long run. And a lot of injuries. We got brand new turf at my college. I played football up here at Gannon. It's a D2 school. First week, we got new turf my junior year in camp. My foot got stuck in the turf, and I tore every ligament in my knee and completely had to get it reconstructed. I think 5 to 7 people tore their ACLs that week. The first week we got brand new turf. So it's definitely not a favorite of mine.
Yeah. See, I don't mind it around my pool. Because
you're not
we're not wearing cleats. We're not trying to stiff arm anybody or anything like that.
Less grass to mow, and
that's what I was about to say. John don't want to mow the grass.
I totally get that. I do not like doing that either.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, this is for this price. I could do the whole yard.
I know some people that have done it. Yeah,
but no, my luck. It's slippery with bare feet, and my luck is I'd end up cracking a rib or something like that when I fall because I'm old.
I hope not. Man. You got to be out there fishing. You don't want to be fishing in like a full body, like one of those things, those casts that go around your waist like this. It'll be hard to fish for you.
Yeah, I'll have to to reel the line in. I'll have to do pirouettes and.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
you might want to reconsider the turf, man. I don't want to see you hurt.
No, I don't plan on doing that. What's next for you, sir?
So I have a 2-day local tournament here at Erie coming up. It's called the Kings of Bass. It's a cool format. 1 day all largemouth, 1 day all smallmouth.
Sweet.
I've done it periodically through the years. It's pretty fun events. I do that with my buddy Tyler Woke. He's my typical team partner. He's always good for a big smallmouth. So I'll be counting on him for big fish Tyler. But after that, another tournament at Erie before I leave for St. Lawrence, and that Toyota is like third week of August, I think. So I'll leave for that. Yeah. Then I just have some, local, regional stuff I'm fishing. There's a Douglas Rods, Doc's Tackle, open at St. Lawrence, October 19th. So anybody that wants to fish that, it's guaranteed 5,000. If there's 80 boats, which it'll be capped at 80, it'll be like almost 10,000 to win. Really good time of year to go up to St. Lawrence, and I'm fishing a big stacks up at St. Clair payback. Big stacks open on St. Clair in September. I think that's all I got.
All right.
Okay. Cool.
So a lot of smallmouth fishing.
Yeah. So that docks tournament, do you have the information on that?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Is it on your page?
I will send it over to you.
Okay. Because we'll share it and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
It is October 19th. It's out of Clayton, so the lake should be open, barring any crazy weather. I assume we're going to get a lot of Canadians and Americans, so it'll be a stacked field, I'm assuming.
Yep.
October 19th. Okay. Aaron will
Rumble on the River. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. Fish or Die is also involved. They're a sponsor. Great Lakes Finesse. There's a couple other sponsors I'm just drawing a blank on right now, but Doc's Tackle is the presenting sponsor for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Doc's is a great area. Great shop. I used to deal with them. I don't know. I think before their 1 year anniversary. So
yeah, they just hit 5
Yep.
on July 4th. They
Yep.
just hit their
Cool.
5th year anniversary.
And they have another location. I believe it's on Canisius, correct?
They shut that one down, but they
Did
are
they shut it
looking.
down?
Yeah, it's just too close. I mean, you're getting the same customer base, but they're looking to possibly expand in the near future. So I think that was part of the reason why.
There's a old convenience store downtown Seneca Falls that would be a great shop.
It's a good idea. You could have gas too. I mean, it'd be like those southern bait stores got the gas. You got breakfast sandwiches in the morning, all your tackle.
Just like
it's just
Thousand
one-stop
Islands.
shop.
Thousand Islands.
Yeah, Thousand Island bait
Yeah.
tackle. That's perfect.
So
They
all
need
right,
one
buddy.
down here, like by Buffalo or something, so I can get there quicker.
There you go.
That's a good area. But
Yeah, that's
hey,
only about an hour and a half from me.
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm about an hour and 15, hour and a half from Buffalo.
Okay.
Well.
I thought you were real close to it. So
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's pretty close considering everywhere that we, travel for turbos. That's like
yeah.
almost a home thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, Chameau's only a little over 2 hours for me. And
That's not bad.
That's a day trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd love to fish, the lake and the river more up there. It's like 6 to 6.5 hours from me. It's a little bit of a hike. Boom, made it. Oh, fashionably late.
Yeah. That's all right. You get to replay, Ruger. You all right, buddy?
But
we're not going to be able to answer any of his questions.
no,
Yeah, that's true.
Destin, seriously though, if you ever want to come to Cougar Lake, we got a spare room here.
Well, I appreciate that. I was very much thinking about it right after Champlain. My wife's like, you should just go stay and go fish somewhere. And I was like, what's the weather at Chameau Bay tomorrow? And I was looking, and I was like, you know what? And I thought
No.
and I was like, I got to get home.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, no, seriously though, anytime you want to come up, you're more than welcome to stay.
I really appreciate that, John.
I forgot to ask, what's your favorite cookie?
Homemade cookie. Homemade cookie.
Chocolate chip.
All right.
Well, have you guys heard of Mrs. Fields?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know that recipe with the chocolate chip?
Yep.
With the oatmeal, and it's like in the
Yep.
that's the best.
Oh, spot on. That's spot on.
I'm glad you guys knew. Like not a lot of people know about that.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fields.
They're in all the malls around here.
Oh, really?
Mrs. Fields, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I haven't
cool.
seen one in a long time.
I need it.
My
My
mom
wife-
would make them for like Christmas and stuff.
Yeah. My wife has been making me granola bars.
Really?
With chocolate chips and honey
That
and
sounds
oats
pretty good.
It is.
Probably less expensive than buying the granola bars at the store too.
It is for me because she buys them. Buys all the ingredients.
There you go.
You know.
It is less expensive. Perfect.
All right, buddy. Well, hey, you take care.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks for having
Hey,
me.
good luck this next tournament.
You too. Good luck at your next tournaments, and I will
Thanks.
see you guys soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank
All right,
you.
Have a great night.
All right. See you, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Later.
Oh,
And of course, we get one more Barking Ruger's comment.
hold on. Looks like I missed the Lower Canada national discussion. Go get him, Tiger. That's all I think.
I got no follow up on that, brother. I ain't got no follow up on that.
So I got something.
Okay.
So would that make him the upper cubic section?
Possibly. But yeah, Doc's Tackle's a pretty good shop. They do quite a bit of business with us, and top notch guys.
Yeah, they are. But another week down.
All right. Oh, and then if anybody's wondering, the Big Bass Tour, they already announced their 25 schedule next year. I think they got to stop up your way, but that's an awesome tournament. If you ever get a chance to, that's a fun tournament. So you'll get a chance to. I'm 1 for 1. I fished Guntersville and got a check, so pretty happy with that.
I'd give you the finger, but it's not very polite.
I didn't say big check. I just made a check.
Yeah, you said Guntersville.
I know.
All right, everybody. Well, everybody. Oh, I want to play this one thing again.
Yep.
Just to let you guys know, we got a new project coming out. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and here's a little bit of advertisement for it.
All right.
Yeah, that's going to be on our. We're going to do it just like we do this show, except for it's exclusive. You're going to get an invitation once you're a subscriber. You'll get an email invitation, and you'll be able to come in and watch all the episodes that we have. That won't be available to the general public.
Yep, we already got some guests lined up, and it's some heavy hitters.
We got one of the guests is talking about getting financial sponsors rather than discount. We have one set up for prepping for a tournament, what he does prior to fishing a tournament before he leaves for the lake. We also might have 1 or 2 elites on the books for this one. Elite anglers. I've been speaking to a couple of them, some of the younger ones, and we'll go from there. We'll definitely keep you guys updated, and
it's in the works.
Yes. So, all right, everybody. Well, everybody have a good night. Be safe, and hope to see you on Monday.
And thanks for tuning in. Give us likes and subscribes, and share us out. And we'll catch y'all Monday. And y'all go wet a line this weekend. I plan to on Saturday, hopefully. I know John's got a tournament on the weekend, so we hope the best for him. So I know he's going to whack them. And y'all go out and have fun this weekend, and see you back Monday.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Peace out.